Well, good evening from a cool and rainy night here. I'm just doing some cooking, a little bit of dinner and a little bit of food prep for the next couple of days. And because it's cool and kind of damp out, I thought this would be a perfect time to do some cooking, especially because of how my week has gone. I have not had a good week. Not had a good week at all. Okay, I'm happy with this. These are fully cooked. If you're new here, my name is Scott. This is my YouTube channel, StaticCampervan, and this is the camper van in question. It's just a minivan that I've been living out of for the last, well, I'm over 8.5 years on now that I've been living out of this minivan, and it takes care of me quite well, even when I'm having a fairly bad week like I have been having. I've had some unexpected bills this last week, and so I thought instead of living high on the hog like I have been doing lately here, I thought maybe I'd do a little more cooking this week, maybe the next couple of weeks at least, do a little more cooking, inexpensive cooking. And when I was thinking about things that I used to cook inexpensively back when I had even less money than I do now, which is kind of hard to imagine, but there was a time where things were even worse off than I am now. I'm just saying I don't make a lot of money these days, that's all. But I used to cook beans from scratch, of course. Buy some dried beans at the store, soak them, cook them, and enjoy them over a few days. And of course that means a very inexpensive meal. Beans are very inexpensive. Of course I can add different things to them. Today I think I'm just going to go with some beans, and I do think I've got some corn tortillas I'll eat with my beans, and I do have a little leftover avocado that I can add to this as well. So that'll kind of make it more of a complete meal. And I'm going to have to do something here because I am parked on quite a bit of a slant, so everything kind of wants to slide off my worktop. I guess I'll just put this back on the stove. It's sitting fine there. This is about as simple as it gets with cooking something. I just bought these beans at the grocery store, and I put about half the package into my little pot here and covered them with water, brought them up to a boil, and then once they got to a boil, I just let them sit covered. I just let them sit, turned the heat off, and let them sit for a little over an hour. I dumped that water off and then put fresh water in, and then added my seasoning and cooked them. And it works much the same as soaking the beans overnight and then cooking them the next day. I used to work in a restaurant, and of course that's the way we did it back then. But since I'm just cooking for myself, I do it the easy way here, where I just boil them, let them sit, and then cook them off, and it works really good because that way you don't have to think ahead. I wanted beans today, I got beans, and cooked them all in the same day without having to wait. So it's a nice little trick to know. If you don't know that little trick, it's a nice little trick to know. And that's probably good enough for me. Let's see, this is not going to work because I need to heat up my tortillas. Let me see if that'll sit there. Oh yeah, I've got a little cutting board here, wooden cutting board, so that'll sit where it doesn't slide, and that way I can turn my stove back on and heat up my tortillas. I've got a couple of corn tortillas here, and normally I heat these up in a pan, but I'm trying to keep things simple. I've had a rough week again, so I'm doing everything as simple and easy as I can get it. The beans, I did add some tomato to them, and I seasoned them up with a little bit of chili powder, which is probably why you see that they look a little bit red. Not just the tomato red, but you can see that chili red in there. And I added some cumin and, well, chili powder, cumin, and what's the other thing? Garlic, I guess. I'm tired. Did I mention I've had a hard week? Probably. And I'm just going to start with one for right now. And that is my dinner. Got a about a half of an avocado left from earlier, so that'll go nicely in here. I thought about getting some cheese, but I'm being lazy at the moment, so I think this is good. Oh, I know what I forgot to mention. I added some bacon fat into the beans when they cooked. Something I do quite often is I'll save any bacon fat and just put it in a jar and put it in my fridge and then use it for other things. I like to make tortillas out of it, flour tortillas. Though I haven't been making flour tortillas lately because I've just been more in tune to corn tortillas the last several months, but eventually I'll make some more, or I'll just use that bacon fat for cooking potatoes or cooking beans like I did here. You know, you can find all kinds of uses for good flavorful fat, and I think it definitely adds a little bit of smoky goodness into these beans here. Well, while it has been a tough week for me, at least one of the things that's made it a little bit better is the weather is now getting cooler and we are getting into the rainy season, and I could not be any happier about that. I was enjoying the rain earlier today, and I was thinking about a few months back when I headed up to Seattle, thinking that it would be a nice, enjoyable trip and that it would be cool and kind of rainy. It was not. It was not at all. In fact, it was quite warm. And what made it kind of worse was I had left the Northern California coast here when I went up to Seattle. So I left cool weather, went to hotter weather. So I wasn't too pleased with myself, at least for a little while. All that trip worked out to be really good. I spent quite a bit of time with friends, which made the trip enjoyable, even though I wasn't terribly comfortable the whole time I was there. But I soon got back to the Northern California coast, where it's always cool. Cooler, anyway. And so that was better. But what's even better now is it's much cooler, and it's now rainy. So that's what I like. If it would stay fall weather all year long, I would be very, very happy about that. Well, the only thing that would make this better is some cheese. And with this, I really like feta cheese. I think that just the creaminess of it and the kind of little vinegary bite that it has just pairs really well with this kind of simple dish. And if I forgot to mention it, I think maybe I did. These are cranberry beans, and they're from a small producer called Rancho Gordo. They have this kind of crazy packaging here. But cranberry beans look very much like pinto beans. In fact, when you cook them, I can't tell the difference. You know, once they're cooked, they look exactly the same to me. But looking at them before you cook them, they have this kind of, maybe kind of pinkish color to them. They're kind of unusual, slightly unusual. I think cranberry beans are thought of as an heirloom bean, and they are very hard to find normally, unless you go to a co-op, food co-op, or a health food store. But this brand here, this Rancho Gordo brand, they sell, I think, nationwide, so you can find them. They'd be much cheaper in a bulk bin, but the store I went in didn't have them in the bulk bin, so this is my only option. For a while there, I was eating a lot of pinto beans and bean burritos as well. That was how I was mostly eating the pinto beans. I was wrapping them up in a bean burrito. Sometimes I have avocado with them, usually cheese, and usually quite a bit of Yellowbird hot sauce, which is one of the things I eat a lot of. I don't think I really need any Yellowbird in this at the moment. I'm just enjoying how I've got these seasoned up. I think the chili powder I put in them and the cumin and garlic and all that is kind of making them taste good all on their own. But I'll probably add some Yellowbird to my next meal of these, because I've got at least another couple of meals of beans I've cooked here, which is a nice thing about cooking a big pot of beans. I was expecting to have a little more out of that, but oh well, I've got a few meals out of this, and that's kind of what I wanted. I was hoping to make something yummy to eat tonight and then to have leftovers, so that's what I've got. Maybe not as much leftovers as I wanted, but that's what I've got. Anyway, so I got really tired of eating pinto beans, and you know, pinto beans has got some nutrition to them, but they're not the best of the best beans. I think when I grew up, we ate a lot of black beans as well, And I don't really care for black beans. It seems like the skin on the outside never really softens. So that's why I started looking at different beans. And my favorite beans are Anasazi beans, and they look very similar to cranberry beans when they're just fresh and dried before you cook them. But I think that they taste a lot better than pinto beans, whether it's the cranberry beans or the Anasazi beans. They just taste so much better than pinto beans, and I think that they have a better nutritional profile as well. So anymore these days, I'm not really buying a lot of pinto beans anymore. I am just trying to buy more heirloom beans. Try to get the organic ones. I do buy Anasazi beans when I can find them, but they are insanely hard to find. They are also insanely expensive, and so that's why I've kind of settled on these cranberry beans, or as an alternative, there's cattle beans as well. They go by a couple of different names. I think sometimes they're called Joseph's cattle beans, I think. But yeah, cattle beans, if you can find them, look very, very, very similar to the Anasazi beans, even more similar than the cranberry beans do. And once you cook them up, all of these, they all look exactly the same, and they all taste about the same too. They're much more flavorful than a pinto bean, and they're quite a bit more creamy than a pinto bean. They get really super soft and creamy, and to me that just is worth the extra money. Pinto beans, of course, are a little cheaper than the cranberry beans that I bought, but I am so tired of eating pinto beans anymore that I don't mind paying a couple dollars extra, even though I am trying to save a little bit of money. But this, this is very cheap. I got half a pot of beans for about $2, $2.50, something like that. So it's a pretty inexpensive meal. So I left these beans out to cool down a little bit, but it's now time to pack them up and get them in the fridge. I do have quite a bit more than I thought I did, so quite a bit in this pot, which makes me happy. At least something is going well here. I'm kidding. I think my week has turned around. The last week has been horrible, like I said, but I think things have turned around now. So just need to keep the positive attitude going. Need definitely some help with the positive attitude at this point, with how bad my week was. But it's getting easier to be a little bit more positive. Anyway, I've got a silicone bag here, and I've had these for quite a while. They're from IKEA. I've talked about them quite a bit in the past. They're such good bags. They're really strong, they're really durable, and they're great for something like this. They kind of sit up on their own, so it makes them easy to kind of fill. And I did ruin one at one point, but I have 2 left. So they're pretty durable, and for the price, I think it's kind of hard to beat them. In fact, when I was in Seattle a few months back, I almost drove over to IKEA to go maybe buy some more, another package of them. They come in a pack of 3. And I almost did that, but I just couldn't stand the thought of being in the city anymore, so I headed out to the Olympic Mountains, and you know what? I don't regret doing that one bit, because the Olympics, not the sporting event, of course, but the Olympic Mountains is just an incredible place to be. Okay, so let me get the top on this, and there we go. That's ready to get into the fridge. Well, now I've lost all of my positivity because I have to wash my dishes. Who likes washing dishes? Not me. I guess some people do. I'm kidding, of course. I've just got 5 things to wash, including my knife here. So this will just be a minute, and then I can probably think of something that will brighten my mood up. What do you think that'll be? I got bean juice on my shirt, and because it's got tomato and chili in it, I'm trying to clean it out now so it doesn't set and become a stain. Have I gotten it all out? Mostly, I guess. Well, this simple type of meal has me thinking back to my mortgage days, back when I had a house and a mortgage and I could barely afford that mortgage, and I was doing everything I could to kind of hang on, and so I would eat a lot of bean dinners. Now back then I was a big baker, and so I would bake usually some cornbread or something to go with it, which would make it a little bit more filling. Sometimes I'd add some bacon or some other type of protein to it as well, but it was usually pretty lean back in those days. So back then I ate pinto beans because they were the cheapest thing I could get my hands on, and of course I would do the whole soaking thing. I wasn't quite aware at first about not needing to soak the beans for a day and then cooking them the next day. So when I figured out that I could just soak the beans and then cook them the same day like I did here, it made everything so much simpler, because a lot of times, I get my paycheck and it just would not be enough, and I would think, well, how am I going to get through to next week's paycheck? And so it would be eating a lot of beans, eating a lot of cornbread, and the baking stuff I usually bought everything in bulk, so I had big bulk bags of flour and cornmeal and stuff, so that was pretty cheap. So yeah, I did that a lot back then. So one thing I couldn't do here today is I couldn't make any cornbread because I don't have an oven, and that doesn't mean I want to get an oven. I'm just saying it is the one difference between then and now. I'm actually quite fond of corn tortillas now, and that also has me thinking that because I'm not really eating flour tortillas anymore, and I'm just mostly eating corn tortillas, it's probably about time that I get myself a tortilla press and try my hand again at making corn tortillas. I haven't made corn tortillas since back when I had a mortgage, way back then. So it's probably time to start doing that. I could make corn tortillas here in my van quite easily, and that would be something inexpensive to make if I can actually make them and be happy with them, because that was the issue I had back then, was I was just never happy with the results I was getting out of them. But I think it's time to get back to it. Making corn tortillas, that would be a good thing to add to my van life cooking repertoire, right? Is that the correct word? Repertoire? Maybe I'll have to look that up. I'll edit it out if it's not a real word. So if I am ever in a bad mood, or if I just need a little pick-me-up, there are two things that work every single time. One, of course, is having a good meal. Once I get some good food, I am usually happy, very, very happy. The other one, of course, is a nice cup of coffee, which is why I've got the kettle going here. And I think we will use the good mug here today, my nice mug. I have two mugs. Well, I actually have three mugs. One is ceramic, so that one's put away in a safe spot so I don't break another mug again. I've broke quite a few, so I usually use one of these metal Clean Canteen coffee mugs, and this one is definitely my favorite. In fact, I put a sticker on it so that I know it's mine. So we'll use that one because I have some spectacular coffee, and I think I got a little bit lucky here on this. I bought some coffee from Groundwork, and this is a roaster that is based out of Portland and Los Angeles, so kind of a West Coast coffee roaster. I don't know how far East Coast they get, but around the West Coast they are very widely available wherever you are on the West Coast, and they have some kind of special limited edition coffee roasts that they do, and this is one of them. I've had this before in the past. It's been so long that I don't remember what it tastes like. Well, actually, I've gotten into it, so I've gotten a couple of cups out of this bag already, but I didn't remember what it tasted like, so it was like an all new experience for me. It was like I was having a new roast for the very first time, and Groundwork is one of my favorite coffee roasting companies. They're pretty reliable. I think everything they do is organic, or mostly organic, and everything that they do is just done really, really well. They are a bit pricey, but I did find this one on sale, so I went for it. This is their Supernatural, and of course they put this one out usually in the weeks coming up to Halloween. Now, I don't celebrate any holidays, certainly not Halloween, but you know, I wanted to grab it while it's available. I don't think it'll be available for too much longer. Usually after Halloween it gets discounted and then sold out, and you don't see it again until the next year. So this is why we've got to enjoy this. This is why I'm using the good mug here today. Let me get grinding this up, because my kettle is on already. Okay, here's my Supernatural cup of coffee. I did kind of a finer grind, and I did water just off the boil, so very, very, very hot water. And I did a 4.5 minute brew time in my AeroPress here that I use in the inverted method, the upside down method. If you don't like the way I do it, you call it upside down. If you like it, you call it the inverted method. Anyway, that's what I did, and that's the way I like this coffee the best. Actually, I like it with a little bit of half and half the best. And this is a really good cup. This is probably not my favorite type of coffee, but I've been drinking mostly my favorite coffee, which is Ethiopian coffees, for the last several months. So this is a nice little change up, and still really flavorful and fantastic. So I'm enjoying this quite a lot. And again, this is a mood lifter for me, obviously. Even though I don't get any kick out of caffeine, and I never have, just the taste of a really good cup of coffee and brewed properly, to me, is just a fantastic thing. Before I started drinking coffee, I drank tea and hot chocolate, and I'm happy to not be drinking those anymore. I just focus on coffee nowadays, because there's such a wide variety of coffee flavors out there. And this has kind of reminded me of that this Groundwork Supernatural is just something special that only comes around once a year, and I usually don't get a bag because I'm usually just not able to find any in the stores. It is a little bit difficult to find. The best thing to do if you want a bag of Supernatural from Groundwork is to order it directly from them. That's what I found in the past anyway. But it is stocked around a few places, although probably by the time you see this, it's going to be after Halloween, and so I would suspect it's going to be a bit hard to find on store shelves at this point, although you might be better off finding it on Groundwork's website if you really want to try it. Anyway, that's it, and that's about all I have to say today, so I'm going to end it a little shorter one here. Until I get back into my groove, probably keep the videos a little bit shorter. So that's it for this one. And if you like this video at all, or you just want to give me a little helping hand, you can click the little thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. That would help me out too. And anything at this point to help keep my mood elevated would be great. So thank you for whatever you do. Even just watching is a great thing for me. So with that, I'll say thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.